Welcome to Real Life with Jenny. My name's Jenny Senaparatna. Grab your favorite drink, get a snack, and we'll get started. Today I have English breakfast tea with cream and sugar, of course, and I have a small brownie. So let's get real. Now, I know you weren't thinking, why does Jenny have a brownie? Because you don't care. But today you will. So my mom and mother and father-in-law all belong to a seniors group, and they meet every Tuesday, and I hear that it's a blast. I was able to go once. They don't allow me to come every week, which is super uber sad, but they have a really good time. But once a month, they have entertainment come in, and they have like guest speakers, and they have a potluck. Now, I am telling you, there is something special about the generation above me that can cook. Like, their creativity and the foods that they were raised on, I'm like, wow. You know, there's a couple bags of chips here and there, but nothing like the potlucks that happened at my former work, where you were like, did anyone make anything from home? No, none of us did. You know, we have more chips and dip than a regular place should have. They have really good food. And so my mom is currently walking through the cancer treatment, and her strength isn't really very strong right now. And so I volunteered as the duteous daughter who bakes that I would help her make something for her potluck. So I came home and looked through my cupboards and thought, I really don't have much in my house to cook with. What is going on? I've really tried to only buy the food that we're going to use that week. Now, you have some of the staples, in the pantry, but I didn't have a lot of staples in the pantry. I used to be one of those people that bought for the Armageddon and had 16 tubes of toothpaste, and now I'm finding myself running out of toothpaste because I'm only trying to buy what I need because we don't have that big of a house to store everything. So anyway, I found a box, and yes, I know, judgment everywhere, but a box for lemon bundt cake. And so I'm like, okay, you know what? I can make this. This is a pretty easy thing. The only problem I had was it was 10 tablespoons of butter, and butter is very precious. And so I was like, that's a lot of butter. Anyway, so I made this bundt cake, and I pulled out my Bundt Pan, and I sprayed it down, and I got it all ready, and I put it in the oven, and it cooked perfectly. Like, it was golden brown. It was beautiful. The toothpick came out right away, and I'm like, this is perfect. And so I let it cool down a little bit, about the time I normally do. And I bring out my cute little yellow plate. I know, I even had a yellow plate for the lemon bundt cake. I know, how adorable is this? I'm like, we are going to be the stars of the potluck this week, right? They're going to be like, who is this amazing? And then I was going to have this lemon drizzle on top. And I turn it over, and half of the cake comes out. Only half of the cake came out, and I was like, oh no, this isn't good. And so I'm like, oh, I can salvage it. It's fine. I'll get the top on, and then maybe I'll make like a layer in between of frosting, and it'll look totally like it was supposed to have happened. And then I realized that the other half was not coming out of the bundt cake. It was just not coming out. So anyway, I did not serve lemon bundt cake because I could not get it out of the pan. I put a knife underneath it, and it just wouldn't come. And so I was super sad. I was like, this, and it tasted really yummy because it's in crumbs at this point. And I tasted it, and I'm like, this is delicious. And I thought I could make this into cake pop. That's how this originally worked anyway, right? Cake pops were made because we couldn't get things out of the pan. And I'm like, okay, that seems like way too much work. I don't have that much energy. So I made a pan of brownies. That is why I have a brownie. And so I made a pan of brownies, and I sent that over, and about half of them were eaten, and the other half seemed to come home with me, and now I've got brownies that I really didn't want. But they need to be eaten because they're quite delicious, even though they're out of a box. There's no shame in box cooking. Anyway, so the thing that kind of made me come on and talk about this as a podcast is because I have this Bundt pan, right? And I then started processing why it didn't work, because you can't just let it go. Like, I just can't let it go that I failed. I had a baking fail. I can't just go, oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it, Jenny. Like an average human being, I have to like obsess about why it didn't work. Like, did I not spray it enough? Did I not let it set long enough? Did I not let it cook? I mean, like, I went through the whole gamut. And then I had a thought. And, just one of those like aha moments. Wait a minute. Last time I used that Bundt cake pan, the Bundt cake didn't come out either. It stuck inside. Huh. Wait a minute. The time before that, I used that Bundt cake pan. And you see it now. The cake didn't come out. Well, I have this Bundt cake pan, not because I ever make Bundt cakes. Like, this is not part of my repertoire. I will make you a blonde brownie that is from scratch, that is killer, but Bundt cake's not really my thing. But I have a Bundt cake pan because it was my grandmother's, and it used to be non-stick. All right, now you see where we're going, and I have kept it because it was my grandmother's, and how often do I make a Bundt cake? I don't know, every 2 years, maybe. My grandmother's been gone for 14 years, so I had this 14-year-old Bundt cake pan that she probably had for 30 or 40 years, knowing my grandmother, because she never threw anything away. And I am still using it thinking it's going to work. So, yesterday, much to my chagrin, the Bundt pan, I know if my mom's listening, she's going to be hysterical, like, Jenny, what are you doing? I threw the Bundt cake pan away. And I was like, you know what? If I need a Bundt cake pan, I'm going to splurge and buy myself a new one, right? Like, I'm worth this. And I went on Walmart.com because why would I go anywhere else? And they had one for $6. Guys, I have been keeping a Bundt cake pan that does not work, that has half of the original non-stick, whatever that stuff is on it, half no longer there, for $6. And I thought that today, Jenny, what are you doing? And you're like, well, that's a really great story, Jenny. Yay. But really, it is so true in all of our lives. Now, you may not have a Bundt cake pan that you need to get rid of, but I do have some other pans that I've been holding on to that are $10, $15 to replace, that I just need to replace. There's always the joke when you've been married for a little bit and you go to these bridal showers and they get everything new, and you're like, why don't we have those when we've been married for 10 years? Or why don't we have those when we've been married for however many years? Because all of your stuff is still back from your wedding. And yes, I still have pans that I got when we first got married 26 years ago that I need to let go of. And that just is the truth in our lives. There are things in our lives that we are making work that no longer work. There are things in our lives, in our spiritual lives, in our mental life, in our emotional life, at our jobs, in our finances, that we are still using because we're afraid to get rid of it for whatever reason, and it does not work. And every time we use it, we go, oh, that didn't work. But you know what? Next time it will. It'll be okay. It's fine. I'm sure that it was my fault. Right? And so I just wanted to come on today and just say, hey, guys, let it go. I know that's a song. It all got stuck in your heads now. I really apologize. But let the Bundt cake go. Let the Bundt cake pan go. Let whatever is holding you back, and every time you use that tool, let it go. Let that thing go. I know that sometimes when I was at a job, I just had this is how I do it, right? This is the process. This is how it works. Someone else would come in and say, oh, why don't you try this? And I'm like, no, this is how it works. But the way I was doing it was not as efficient as what the thing they taught me, right? And so there's something in your life, and I want you to kind of pray about it and think about it that is holding you back, that is keeping you from being more successful. Because every time you bring out that tool, it is a disaster, and half of the cake is stuck in the bundt pan, and you feel like a failure. Get a new tool. Get a new bundt cake. I cannot say that. Get a new pan. Maybe if I would have used a loaf pan that I love and I use all the time for other things and I know it's perfect, it's not nonstick and it doesn't matter because everything comes out of it beautifully. If I would have used that, my bundt cake would have been fabulous, but it would have been in a loaf. I would have had lemon bread and it would have been fabulous, but I was not willing to give up the tool that was quote unquote right for the job. And so I just encourage you, whatever you're using that's not working, give it up. Let's put it to the side and know that it's not that hard to replace it. Sometimes we're so afraid to do something new because we're afraid to fail. So yesterday I'm at one of my mom's doctor's appointments, and I realized that I really hate silence. Now, I've always thought I'm a real silence person, and honestly, I don't mind silence if they're, if I have something to think about, right? If I have something to think about or I have something to process, like I love silence. And so I'm sitting at this appointment and there's no one in the appointment room. Like it was me and the chairs. Like I could have kind of like done leapfrog or something. There was like no one there. My mom would have been humiliated, but I did not, by the way. No, if you were like picturing me playing leapfrog all around the chairs. But I sat there and I listened to audiobooks everywhere, you know that. And I turned off my audiobook and I just sat there in silence. And I was like, I really want to get in touch with me, because my coping mechanism is to always like, okay, I'm going to relax by doing all these other things. And yesterday I just took a moment and I sat in silence and I was like, how am I doing? Am I anxious? Am I afraid? And I realized that sometimes I'm afraid of quiet because I'm afraid of what I'm going to hear. My tool is to put something, music on or an audiobook, or start processing something or thinking about something, and it is a great tool 90% of the time. But yesterday I just needed a check-in. I just needed to say, hey Jen, how you doing? Are you okay? Are you feeling okay? Like, this is a big doctor's appointment. It went really well, by the way. But it was a big appointment, and how are you feeling? Are you, just kind of checked in on myself. And I thought, oh, wow, this is really powerful. It wasn't very long. Don't get too excited. Probably a minute. Maybe it felt like 75 hours. Maybe it was like 30 seconds. And then I turned back on my audiobook. But it was a minute that I took away the old tool and I put a new tool in. And I felt like, wow, I really connected and made sure I was okay. And so I want you to do that this week. Not that you need to sit in silence. I'm not saying that. But I want you to think about the tools that you're using in your finances, in your relationships, in your relationship with God, in your mental health, in your emotional health, in your physical health. What things are you using that are not working and you're trying to make them work? Let's set them aside and know that there are new tools out there that you can use instead. So that's my encouragement for the week. My encouragement is, hey, go buy a new pan. Maybe it's something simple like that you've been trying to make a crock pot work. The one year that I thought it would be a great idea that every night in the month for 30 days, I was going to cook in a crock pot. So every night, because I was like, I need crock pot meals. So every night I'm going to try a crock pot meal and we're going to eat out of a crock pot for a month. And it was the worst month. Oh my goodness, the disasters, the tears, Jenny, what are you thinking? I gained no recipes out of those 30 days because I was so discouraged and so frustrated, and we ate out more that month than we had ever eaten out before or since, and I just had to set that aside. Like, I do not need to be a crock pot girl. People use Instapots. I haven't done it yet. I'm just like, I'm afraid, to be completely honest, because my crock pot was such a debacle that I'm like, I have 5 crock pot recipes and no more. And I'm not going to try to expand it. It's okay. I'm comfortable with that, right? So what do you need to set aside? What tool are you using that you need to set aside? I pray that God just reveals that to you and that you can grow. And I'm excited to hear what it is. I really am. Well, you can find me at Real Life with Jenny on Instagram and on Facebook. You can also find me at christconnection.cc/Jen. All of my info is there. We are currently booking into fall and the winter for 2023 and even the spring for 24. So if you want to get on the books, please let me know. You can message me or go to christconnection.cc/Jen and connect with me there. I would love to be able to come out and speak to the ladies or to your church and just really encourage them that God is really got some fun things going on right now. And I am so excited to be able to share what God's sharing on my heart with your group. But this week, your job is to put that tool aside and say, you know what? This is no longer working for me, and I'm going to try to find something new. You all have a great week.